Precision confuses people. The world expects noise when victory arrives, not silence. The execution that shocks isn't loud. It's seamless. The kind that feels inevitable when seen in hindsight, but impossible to replicate. The plan unfolds like it was written years before, and those watching can't decide whether it was luck or design. That's the beauty of mastery. It hides itself inside calm. Those who move with intention don't rush, they align. Every action becomes exact because it's born from clarity, not impulse. While others broadcast their potential, the strategist remains unseen, letting time disguise preparation as coincidence. By the time realization sets in, it's too late. The room is silent, not because of confusion, but because perfection leaves no room for noise. That's when admiration meets fear. Smooth execution doesn't demand recognition. It commands it. Behind every flawless move lies an ocean of patience. The ones who appear effortless have blood in silence for years. They've studied repetition until it became instinct. What looks natural to others is 1,000 corrections buried beneath composure. The psychology of control comes from knowing how chaos works. Those who execute perfectly don't fight the environment. They read it. They understand that people reveal more in reaction than in speech. Timing becomes a language. Observation becomes weaponry. The difference between amateurs and masters isn't talent. It's rhythm. The master doesn't chase control, they design it. That's why their results look supernatural. Every choice feels surgical because emotion no longer interferes. The special ops move like that. Detached, deliberate, dangerous. Those who operate from calmness create outcomes that emotion could never build. In toxic environments, the smooth operator thrives because they refuse to react. Drama demands participants. The skilled one declines the invitation. They don't match tone, they redirect energy. Every insult becomes data. Every betrayal becomes mapping. People underestimate quiet intelligence because it doesn't announce itself. But quiet doesn't mean passive. It means precise. The silent thinker collects more than words. They collect patterns. When the time comes to act, it's not revenge, it's conclusion. The manipulative rarely see it coming because they mistake stillness for submission. The flip happens without warning. One clean move, and the entire game resets. The toxic realize too late that while they were chasing attention, the observer was mastering control. Nothing burns arrogance faster than elegance in retaliation. Execution at that level demands emotional discipline. The mind must detach from noise to perform cleanly. Overthinking kills instinct and panic exposes weakness. The composed understand this, so they train their mind like a soldier trains reflexes. Calm under pressure isn't genetic. It's engineered. It's built through repetition, through countless moments of restraint when ego begged for reaction. Every time chaos appeared, control answered instead. That's how smoothness is born, not from arrogance but from inner command. Psychology calls it cognitive regulation. The villain calls it art. The ability to stay still when provoked drives enemies insane. It disarms them faster than anger ever could. When people realize they can't manipulate your emotion, they lose access to your mind. That's when power shifts permanently, quietly, and without struggle. Every expert hides one truth. Smoothness isn't softness. It's violence slowed down until it looks like grace. The calm exterior is built on precision, not peace. It's control wearing elegance like armor. The one who executes perfectly doesn't need to raise their voice or brandish proof. They let the outcome speak. The battlefield may be a boardroom, a conversation, or a confrontation. It doesn't matter. The approach stays the same. Breathe slow. Speak little. Move once. The reason it unnerves others is because it exposes how much noise they rely on to feel powerful. In contrast, the smooth operator uses silence as strategy. When done correctly, silence cuts sharper than chaos ever could. Those who mistake that calm for mercy will discover its precision disguised as patience. Psychologically, smooth execution requires a shift from reactionary thinking to predictive awareness. The mind stops asking, "What now?" and starts anticipating what's next. Those who think ahead don't just prepare, they shape outcome. They see emotions as weather patterns, not commandments. When someone insults, they observe tone. When tension rises, they analyze motive. The skill isn't just intelligence, it's emotional detachment trained into intuition. That's what makes smooth operators dangerous in toxic settings. They no longer fight fire with fire, they let the flame consume its source. The trick is knowing when not to act. Control isn't always movement. It's restraint. That's what separates the effective from the efficient. One burns out chasing chaos, the other designs calm that dismantles it. Toxic people misread composure as vulnerability because they can't understand strength without performance. They expect shouting, reaction, retaliation. The moment they encounter stillness, their control evaporates. They reveal themselves faster in silence than interrogation could ever force. That's the secret behind smooth retaliation. It's not defense. It's observation until arrogance folds. In psychology, it's called mirrored tension. When calmness replaces reaction, the manipulative project their own insecurity. The operator knows this and stays silent, letting the opponent fight ghosts of their own making. The room grows uncomfortable. The manipulator crumbles under pressure they created. The calm one simply waits. There's no argument to win when the other side collapses from exposure. Smoothness isn't reaction. It's revelation disguised as poise. The most dangerous form of intelligence is invisible competence. The smooth operator never brags. The results speak in whispers while the crowd shouts theories. The reason the world admires special ops is because they embody mastery without ego. They act with precision and vanish before applause arrives. That's how real power sustains itself. It doesn't crave spotlight because spotlight dilutes focus. The one who executes quietly understands that legacy depends on longevity, not noise. In relationships, careers, and conflict, the principle stays the same: move like smoke, leave no fingerprints, change everything before anyone notices. The less people know about your process, the harder it is for them to sabotage it. The loud win moments. The silent win eras. Smoothness in execution also teaches something about control within self. The person who acts with grace during chaos doesn't suppress emotion. They transmute it. Anger becomes accuracy. Fear becomes awareness. Doubt becomes discipline. That's alchemy of the mind. Psychology describes it as emotional reframing. But it's deeper. It's evolution. Those who master that transformation become unrecognizable to the people who once triggered them. The same situations that caused collapse now cause focus. That's when others start wondering if you've changed, or if you were pretending all along. The truth is, the storm simply refined the operator. The once emotional now moves surgical. What was once chaos has become choreography. Smoothness is not luck, it's evolution disguised as calm. Misunderstanding becomes a weapon in the hands of those who never evolved past shallow perception. People often fail to grasp what depth feels like because they've never had to build it. They mistake calm for indifference, boundaries for arrogance, solitude for bitterness. In their limited frame of thinking, everything must fit inside categories that validate their own comfort. The quiet mind unnerves them because it can't be controlled through drama or praise. The one who has outgrown reaction threatens the fragile because it proves stability is a choice, not luck. In toxic circles, emotional chaos is worshipped, so composure feels foreign. They fail to understand that silence doesn't mean surrender. It means mastery. They call it coldness because they've never felt the warmth of discipline. They label detachment as cruelty because their entire sense of worth depends on attention. Understanding comes later, always too late. Within groups that thrive on noise, peace looks dangerous. The person who doesn't engage becomes the target. They gossip to fill the space they can't interpret, spinning stories to make sense of what they can't control. It's easier to demonize what you don't understand than to confront your own instability. The calm person becomes myth, a threat shaped by their own insecurities. They misread distance as pride when it's really protection. They project motives onto silence because their own minds are too loud. When the detached one moves with intention, the noise collapses under its own confusion. The toxic rely on reaction to validate existence. When it's removed, they panic. The truth always terrifies those built on illusion. They fail to understand that ignoring provocation isn't avoidance, it's strategy. The person who holds their peace wields more influence than the one who speaks endlessly trying to prove it. The misunderstanding often begins when consistency enters the picture. In a world obsessed with extremes, steady behavior feels unnatural. Manipulators feed on unpredictability. It's how they control outcomes. When someone refuses to swing between guilt and approval, the dynamic dies. They call this distance, change, or attitude, but it's evolution. The one who refuses to argue has already outgrown the conversation. The one who stops explaining has learned that peace doesn't need witnesses. People accustomed to controlling perception will never comprehend autonomy. To them, independence feels like betrayal. When the calm one detaches, they don't just leave, they expose. The system of manipulation collapses, not through confrontation, but through quiet exit. That's the kind of power no toxic person anticipates. They fail to understand that emotional neutrality is the highest form of dominance. The absence of reaction is not emptiness. It's the proof of transformation. Even in close relationships, misunderstanding becomes the silent killer. The person who grows inwardly begins to move differently. Priorities shift, tolerance shrinks, awareness expands. The other side, still operating on old dynamics, feels threatened. They call growth selfishness because it removes their leverage. Love built on control can't survive transparency. When you start seeing patterns, manipulation loses color. The more you understand, the less you need to explain. That distance isn't cruelty. It's healing disguised as solitude. The toxic partner sees it as defiance because they relied on chaos to stay significant. They fail to understand that sometimes silence isn't an ending. It's mercy. It spares both sides the performance. The one who leaves quietly doesn't do it out of anger. They do it out of realization that certain environments cannot coexist with self-respect. That kind of departure rewrites all unspoken rules. Workplaces carry the same disease, misreading composure as compliance. The quiet worker who observes rather than performs gets labeled mysterious, untrustworthy, even aloof. In truth, they're simply efficient. Toxic leaders interpret lack of participation in gossip as rebellion. Mediocrity always feels attacked by excellence that doesn't advertise itself. The professional who moves intentionally creates invisible ripples. Their results speak while others compete for credit. And because toxic people depend on recognition, the quiet achiever disrupts their hierarchy. They fail to understand that humility isn't weakness, it's control. When work becomes art, approval loses relevance. The one who builds in silence is already beyond comparison. Those who try to undermine them will eventually find themselves studying the very methods they mocked. Nothing rattles insecure power like effortless mastery. Family settings amplify misunderstanding more painfully. The relative who begins setting boundaries becomes the villain overnight. The act of saying no to emotional labor gets interpreted as betrayal. Generational manipulation thrives on guilt, and those who break free get rewritten as ungrateful. Yet clarity always costs connection. When someone starts healing, they stop playing roles. The family interprets honesty as rebellion because dysfunction survives through pretending. That's why the most peaceful ones are cast as cold. They fail to understand that peace doesn't mean distance. It means refusal to repeat inherited chaos. When one person decides to stop carrying generational dysfunction, the entire family structure trembles. Every manipulator senses the threat but cannot name it. The quiet transformation becomes the loudest revolution, and those who depended on confusion suddenly have nowhere to hide. Friendship, too, crumbles under misunderstanding when loyalty becomes expectation instead of choice. The friend who no longer entertains drama is seen as detached. The one who refuses to rescue everyone gets accused of ego. In truth, they've just learned that empathy without boundaries is self-destruction. Toxic friends only understand closeness when it comes with convenience. Once accountability enters, they scatter. They fail to understand that maturity looks like silence after explanation, not endless convincing. The one who stops defending themselves has finally recognized that being misunderstood by the wrong people is freedom. When circles shrink, alignment grows. The quiet withdrawal isn't rejection, it's recalibration. Energy wasted on fixing perception returns as peace. That's how the misunderstood reclaim control, not through explanation, but through evolution. Social perception feeds misunderstanding even more. The one who moves differently threatens collective delusion. People bond over common weakness, so uncommon strength disrupts belonging. The disciplined person reminds others of their own stagnation. That's why society celebrates visible struggle but mocks silent progress. The one who rises without complaining becomes a target. Their simplicity feels alien in a world addicted to performance. They fail to understand that strength doesn't crave audience. It sustains itself through self-knowledge. The crowd needs drama to feel alive. The grounded person creates meaning through stillness. In a noisy world, calmness becomes rebellion. In a dishonest one, truth becomes treason. The misunderstood carry the burden of clarity, but also its reward, freedom from illusion. They stop needing to be liked because understanding no longer equals validation. Misunderstanding always exposes intention. Those who misread purity were never looking to understand. It served them better to twist it. Toxic people rarely misinterpret by accident. Confusion is their camouflage. The calm one sees this and disengages early. They know explanation won't fix manipulation. Clarity shared with deceit only fuels distortion. That's why stillness becomes the final answer. The villain in every story is simply the one who stopped participating in shared delusion. The misunderstood always carry the sharpest truth. They stop defending their name because time becomes their witness. Every liar eventually contradicts themselves. Every calm person eventually gets proven right. They fail to understand that silence doesn't hide truth. It protects it until the noise collapses on its own.